Greg Grippo, welcome to Seeing Other People.
Thank you so much for having me.
I do have to say that I don't know how many years ago, would be absolutely losing my shit.
Oh, no way.
I
Really?
DM'd you the first night, like when you came out of the limo.
Oh, wait, that's hilarious.
I slid into your DMs.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so here we are.
Here we are. I love that.
Years later.
That's funny.
But no, seriously, I'm so excited to have you. Most people probably know you from your time on The Bachelorette.
Mm-hmm.
However, you are also a 31-year-old guy.
I am.
A Jersey boy living in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
You have a whole life and world outside of your time on the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And I am really excited to kind of hear your story outside of reality TV.
Yeah.
What's it like for you to be opening up about your life in this way?
I think that I was super cautious of, I think, letting everyone in right out of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I would always go into podcasts like really timid. But I mean, I'm proud about where I grew up and how I was raised, and I lived a good life, and I don't know. I love my family. Everything's been great, especially recently. But I went through a lot of hardships throughout life, especially like losing my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And everything. Excited to dive in.
There's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
There's a lot to cover. How would you describe yourself, like now, 2025 Greg? Who are you?
Oh, 2025 Greg. I thought you were saying 25-year-old Greg at first. I was like, oof.
That too. But 25-year-old Alana is.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think I feel much more grounded nowadays. And I think back in the day, I used to want to have like control of so many aspects of my life. And I would like stay up at night just having anxiety about what's to come next or what. And I've just learned to just like take it easier and, figure out life in a way that you just can't control everything and just kind of roll with the punches a little bit, and just everything at the end of the day will be okay.
Yeah. I feel like we can catastrophize so much and think of like, okay, well, what if this doesn't work out? Like life is over. Like what if this doesn't happen the way I want it to? And we can like, what if ourselves like literally
absolutely to oblivion.
Yes. But I've tried to have this mindset of like, it's not that deep.
Yeah, it really is not.
It's not. And even the deep things, they don't have to be the end of the world. And sure, we can make mistakes. Okay, we can learn from them.
Yeah.
Like bad things can happen to us. We can grow from them.
You're right.
And I think having that mindset can really change the way you approach life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think even like with dating and stuff, I tended to always kind of I would always jump in, I feel like throughout my life, jump in from like one relationship to the next, and that aspect of my life I always wanted it to be like figured out, and I'd always be like am I getting too old now, like I need to figure this out, and like this is like the first year where I've taken like a full year pretty much off of dating, and I feel like it's been really healthy for me, and it's something I've needed for a long time.
What led to that? Like, was it a decision of I need to take time away from dating, or did you just start not dating and it felt good and you rolled with it?
I think it was hard because the hardest part, I think, was after a breakup. I think like you crave that connection with someone.
Yeah.
No matter if it ended well or not, like you lose a significant part of your life. And I think that I've always tried to kind of rely on other people to help me feel better. And I think realizing that I was struggling with that was the biggest indicator that I do need to take some time off.
Yeah.
And it got better and better. And me realizing that, I think it really helped change my life. And I do think that something like it, I think that it's put me in a better spot, in a healthier place to be in like my next relationship, whenever that may be.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it can be really hard to get to that point, especially like you said, like you went from one relationship to the next. And these are in like pretty core developmental
Absolutely.
years of your life.
Absolutely.
And you, at what point after your father's passing did you go on the show?
I was supposed to go on Claire Crawley's season, and I think that was 2020. Um, Gosh, was that like 4 months after he passed? That's kind of gnarly.
Probably for the best that you didn't do that.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
Wow.
Which, man, I was in. I mean, I was in a fragile spot when I was on Katie's season.
Yeah.
But also like I think it's hard to. I think that like we all like want to be in a place where we're like, no, like I'm okay. You know, like I'm good. Like this happened, but I'm okay. And like I don't think I was okay during that time, because like I mean, like looking back on it and like realizing things I said during the show, I was literally like reliant on her to make me feel good, and that's just like not like a healthy way to approach any relationship. And it was very indicative that like I needed to just take time to myself, which I didn't. Then I hopped into another relationship, and
Right.
I think it's interesting though. Like, I feel like people, they say people like who lose a parent at like a young age, and like I wasn't super young. You know, I'm grateful that I at least made it to 25 years with my dad, but at least things I've read, people will say like sometimes like your growth can be stunted at times if like you don't cope with it the right way after like losing like a significant part or piece of your life. And I think I might have been experiencing that for like a couple years, where like I feel like I wasn't growing like emotionally at all. And even going to therapy, like I don't I was going to therapy, but I don't necessarily know if like I was like fully kind of like grasping like what was going on. Like I feel like this year like I've been like focusing on like everything that's happened in my past, like my childhood stuff, like realizing that like has played like a big factor in my life. And you know, like stuff with my dad is just like in general, like I needed I needed to grieve alone. And I mean, there's whole other pieces. I mean, I feel like there's just like so many layers to it, like the family stuff, like, you know, like feeling guilty not being home all the time, wanting to spend time with them because like we went through this together. And, you know, my mom obviously lost her soulmate, and now I'm the youngest of four. So everyone has like families now. And, you know, I want to do my best to be there for my family, but also there is like a piece where we all have to go through this, you know, at our own rate. And that's kind of why I also moved to Chicago for 6 months, because I was like, I feel like I need to do this for myself, and I need to get away for a little bit from the East Coast and kind of grow a little bit. And so I think that was like a really important time this last year when I moved there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like really doing this for you, you know, taking yourself out of your day-to-day, out of your routine, because I think part of what you're explaining is like you were going through the motions.
Yeah.
You were going to therapy, you were, you know, moving forward with your life in ways, you were with your family, doing the things that you could do, but were you really doing quote unquote like the inner work that you needed to do?
Right.
At the time, did you feel like you were? Like, did you think you were? Or did you know in the back of your mind, like in your heart, like, okay, I'm not okay?
I think in the back of my mind, like my subconscious was just like, I know I'm not like okay, because like I was always stressing still about the things I've always stressed about in life. And like granted, we all stress about, you know, different things in life, but like I wasn't growing in that aspect at all. I do think I was just like going to therapy just because I was like, you know what, I should go to therapy. Not that there were significant parts of my life that like I needed to address, because I like to think of like my life as I guess like it's tough because, you know, before losing my dad, I kind of lived this life that like, oh, like nothing bad will ever happen to us. You know, I'm going to live this like long life. My family will always be here no matter what. You know, I'll probably get married early, start a family. And then like your whole life just kind of switches, you know, like in a day. And I feel like that just rocked my world, and it brought like a whole new perspective, I think, to life for me.
Yeah. Nobody expects to go through what you went through. Like you said, like you had this whole picture of what your life
Yeah.
would be like. And then being thrown into this, like suddenly you have to grieve not only the loss of your dad, but the loss of the life that you thought you were going
Right.
to have.
Yeah.
What do you think was different about the grieving process versus what you expected, or maybe like what you heard about it from other people when it first happened?
I think the amount of guilt that I felt for a couple of years is something I didn't expect. Like my guilt towards doing anything for myself. Like I feel like I put my family in such a strong. They were the most important thing to me. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was okay at all times. I was living in Hell's Kitchen after he passed, like 8 months after, and I was like 25 or 25 at the time, and I was like, I need to get a place. I need to take this new chapter in my life, and I felt really guilty about it. I wanted to be home at all times, and so I never experienced really New York when I first moved here, because I just felt so much guilt about leaving my family. And like I grew up in a very loud household. I was the youngest of four, and thinking about my mom and like a house alone absolutely would like shatter me. So like I would go home every single weekend in New York. So I never created a life here. And I think that was like the thing I didn't expect, was how hard it would be to move on from like your prior life to like taking like a new step, was like the hardest thing in the world for me. And it's just something I wasn't ready for. And that's why I was going back 24/7. Right. And then at the end of the day, I wasn't growing. Then all of a sudden I go on the show, and like, I'm just like a shattered like piece of me.
And now you're suddenly like just thrust into the public.
Right.
Everyone wants something from you. You're being analyzed. Like every little thing you do, everything you say, everywhere you go, who you go there with is being dissected.
Right.
And so then it's even harder to, figure out who you are and
it was trippy.
Who you want to be. Yeah. And I imagine like with that guilt, it's like any moment of like having a good time, and you could be like, I'm having fun. Oh, fuck, like I shouldn't be having fun. Right. How could I be having fun when he's gone, when my mom's alone? Right. Like why am I here? This is so selfish.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like the main part of it. I mean, like how I would be out with my friends, and I'd be like, how can I be out right now?
Yeah.
Like my family's having a dinner or whatever in Jersey. I should be there. But then at the same time, it's like we all have to, it's like a double-edged sword, you want to be there, but also it's important for all of us to take like a step. But I don't, my grief at the end of the day is like still like important to me, because like that's like how I still feel close to my dad, is like through grief. I think that it'll be there no matter what. But it's just something that, whoever loses a parent, whoever loses a sibling, or pet, it's just like there'll always be like a part of you no matter what that misses them, but it's okay to still live your life and like take those steps.
And I know it's weird to think of like they would want you to live your life.
They
would.
No, I know.
Like, they would. If your dad were able to communicate something to you at this chapter of your life, what do you think he would say?
I think that he would say that he was proud of me. I think that, when my dad was around, I think he could sense, because I played basketball my whole entire life, and like he would drive me to every single game. He did not miss a single game of mine. And so like we had that connection where like our relationship was like mainly focused on basketball. He would always bring me fishing too. Like that was also something we bonded on. But after graduating college, I didn't want to play anymore. There was a chance to go overseas and like try professional, but like I knew I didn't want to be around basketball my whole entire life. So like I needed to take a next step. And I think that he could see that like I was just lost. And I didn't know where to go. And yeah, I think that he would be proud of me today for like at least taking a chance on a lot of things that I've been doing.
Yeah. I mean, even just this past year, like taking a chance on yourself.
Yeah.
Like we said, like that must have been really hard to do and scary to do, especially after years of relying on other people.
Yeah.
For happiness to feel full. How else do you feel like this year has changed you? Or singlehood? Because I think especially in like modern dating, like singlehood gets like a bad rep.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's so much good that can come of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that I think that I've realized like at least like how I'm looking to like approach like my next relationship maybe. I think that taking it slower is important for me. Like I want to build like a friendship with that person, like not like a friend zone type of situation, but like, like slow down a little bit and like really hang out with someone. I feel like I was so keen on just jumping like right into things. Like I always romanticized people in some regard where like, oh, this is like going to be perfect. And we would like, it would be, we would just like go full throttle and
right off into the sunset.
And it's just like, I think taking it slower is going to be important for me moving forward.
Would you rather date somebody who knows all about you, is a big fan of The Bachelor, or who has literally no idea who you are, has never watched the show?
I don't know if I'd want to date like a hardcore fan of the show. I mean, it would be one thing if they were like a fan of the show, but like they just looked at me as like a regular person, then yeah, sure. But like, I mean, yeah, I think I envision meeting someone like random. I'm not on any apps, so like all of, I mean, people that like I've gone on a date with this past year, like on a drink with, have been that I've met out randomly. And most of the time, I mean, they don't know who I am. So, I mean, that's been good.
Yeah. It probably takes the pressure off of like because you yourself probably feel like you are just a regular guy.
Oh, I am. Yeah.
And then there are other people who are like, no, that's Greg Grippo.
Oh my gosh.
And you're like, I just want to be Greg.
Yeah.
Like me.
Right.
The person.
Right.
And sure, you were on this show. And that is a part of your story.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, gosh, there's like 5,000 of us at this point, who cares at the end of the day? It's not like I don't think any of us, we're not famous, like I think that you just get maybe a certain popularity after the show, but like other than that, everyone's so, everyone's just,
you're all normal people.
We're all, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of perks that obviously come from after the show. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I mean, dating wise, like, I feel like I feel like it's been nice for me, like this year, like, I feel like, it's been 4, maybe 5 years since the show at this point. And I do feel like it's been, easier now to, talk with people. I mean, it's so long ago at this point that I feel like it's just like that part of my life has passed.
Does it feel good?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does, honestly.
And it's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah, I hope so.
I know that when you were growing up, you got bullied a bit.
Oh, yeah?
How
do you know that?
I know things. I don't know everything, but I know things.
Okay.
Your bullies texted me.
Yeah, my bullies texted you.
I am curious to hear how that has impacted you and your life now, Berkeley.
Oh my God, he's the cutest. Hello, sir. How's
Berkeley,
it going?
where's Greg?
How's it going, sir?
Where's Greg?
Oh, hello. Thank you.
You found him, good boy.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. You're a good boy.
He's a kisser.
you know, I think I've shut that part of my life out until recently. I mean, like looking back on it, I mean, it was such a weird time in my life because my best friends so I went to a Catholic school growing up. It was called St. Matt's, and it was across the street from my house. Quite easy life, just walking across the street and going to school, and um, and ended up transferring schools, and it was like my first time in a public school. And all of my best friends were going to the opposite part of town, like their
Like rival school.
yeah, the rival school for middle school. And so like I had nobody in this public school that I was friends with. And so I had to make a whole bunch of new friends. All of them were really girls because like the guys didn't like me, and I was also 4'10" or 11 and like 60 pounds. So I was tiny, and it would just be all the time. And like I think my parents, because at St. Matthew's, I think that they were like, oh, all the girls love Gregory. And so when I went to this school, it just like wasn't the case, where I I was just getting kind of beat up in the locker room all the time. Before gym class or before a basketball game, there was like these 2 or 3 kids that would like see me go into a bathroom, and then they would like choke me out until like I was like crying. And then they would be like, you're okay, like you're okay. And then like I would just like go on out there, and like I didn't want to tell anybody because my parents like thought of me as this like cool guy. And they thought that like I had it all figured out at like this young age, where like I was like the popular one at school. But like, I was eating kind of lunch at the all girls table, and like I was like scared for my life in that school. Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I mean, that was really hard. I remember going to like an Italian festival, and like I hated like violence. I hated it growing up. Like I'll always remember like there was like this movie called Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo. Have you ever seen that movie?
I most certainly have not.
With Rob Schneider.
But I'll put it on the list.
Seen it? Oh my god, it is a wild movie back in the day. And there's this part where Rob Schneider went to some girl's doorstep, and they made her like 8 feet tall, and all of a sudden they start like duking it out and fighting. And I was eating chocolate cake at the time while I was watching this. I was like young, and I was watching this, and I was like, oh my god, like I didn't like it. I don't know if it was the fact that it was like a woman and a guy fighting, or if there was just like violence on the screen, but like I couldn't eat chocolate cake for years after
Oh my
that.
god.
Yeah. And so like I just didn't like it.
Did you ever dive into this in therapy?
No, I don't think that part I have.
I'm
no.
so intrigued.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. Same thing with fries. I was eating like these potato curly fries in like a part of Jurassic Park. Like this girl was struggling, these little dinosaurs ate her, and I couldn't eat curly fries for a while.
Oh my god.
I'm not joking.
Wait, like it's funny, but it's not funny.
No, it's wild. It's wild.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, hey, I think it toughened me up a little bit, but yeah, I was for sure like a softie growing up, and I didn't. Yeah.
How do you think that's impacted the person you've become?
I mean, I think I went through different stages. I would say that I was really closed off through high school and going into college. And I think it made me like really timid around people, and I was never really truly like my authentic self, and I was always scared about like what people thought of me. And I think that I always really wanted to be like liked in a room, but then I also wouldn't speak. And then when because I went to acting school after like my first job, and I feel like that helped me break down like a lot of walls of mine. I remember like I would like have like a nervous reaction, like my body would be like trembling when like I had to do a scene. But like it was good to finally like put myself out there again, and like I think that it helped me progress like a lot in the right direction.
What made you decide to go to acting school? It's different.
No, it's extremely different. I I always had dreams of being I don't know. I think that, my best friends and I, we'd always like create these skits back in the day. Then we'd always record them, crack up. I have the best time of my life doing it. I don't know why I thought like, yeah, this means that I'm going to be an actor. But I was like, I knew I wanted to do something in like the creative realm of life. And so I was just like acting, and I ended up stumbling upon this book that I read. I went to the person's studio. I drove all the way over here, and I had a meeting with them, and I got lucky, and I got in somehow, some way. And yeah, I think it definitely changed my life for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, like what we go through that helps us become the person that we always wanted to be. And we don't expect to get there in the way that we did. Like you said, like you wanted to be the most liked person in the room, but like you didn't say anything.
Right.
Like for me, first of all, I was terrified of public speaking up until recently.
Wow.
And so many people are like, well, you do that for a living. And I'm like, no, I do private speaking for a living. And it took me getting these opportunities to do public speaking that like scared the living shit out of me to actually be able to like walk in a room and feel confident and not like I'm freaking out. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, public speaking's tough. That is a different beast. And I think that I've too struggled with that, but I think that it's become easier as like you realize that it's gonna be okay at the end of the day. Like nobody, like even like best man speeches, I just did a best man speech, and like I was like, wow, I'm like so proud of myself for like getting through that without like trembling.
I've done a handful of speeches, and it used to be like me like this,
oh my
like
God,
fully shaking. Like...
Yeah, my first one was my brother's, and I could not get a word out.
Yeah, and somehow worked my way up to being like excited about it and walking away being like, that was so fun. I want to do it again. Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. So the relationships that you've been in over the last 5-10 years, what do you think, if you had to pick one thing that you learned from each of them about yourself, about love, about the type of relationship you want in the future, what would it be?
I feel like there's like 50 things. But like I think like the most important thing is that like I needed to figure out that like my own happiness is from myself is like the most important thing that I feel like I can walk away from. Because like I feel like I was every single day was just like, like it was reliant almost on the person if they were having a good day or not. And like even if they're not having a good day, it's like important for your partner to not let it affect them to the degree that you're having. It's important to like walk in a room and like them have like their moments, or like me have like my moment like of like feeling down, for instance, and it be okay, and like like let them either have their space, whatever they need, or talk to them however they want to manage it, and like realize that like I think realizing, not identifying with like my feelings has been like the biggest game changer for me, that like it's okay to feel like how you're feeling like right now, and like in 20 minutes or like an hour that may change. So like don't identify with it, because I used to identify with it, and I feel like I'd carry on with like a certain like sadness for like a week or so. Like the other day, it was like my first time in a while where I felt really down, but I got over it within the day, which was nice.
Why were you feeling down?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think that it was my first time in a while where like I was really like kind of just feeling down about stuff, and I don't know, I couldn't even like put like my finger on it exactly like what I was feeling down about in particular, but I just like reminded myself, I think that like it's all right to be feeling like this.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's definitely almost harder when you don't exactly know why.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a million things going on in the world and in our lives at every moment. So there could be so many different reasons why.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much power in saying like, okay, I'm feeling down. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't forever. I might feel down for the day.
Absolutely.
I might feel down for the hour.
Absolutely.
And sometimes when you just like accept it and then you go like, maybe you go for a walk, you go get coffee, you do one thing that's different, you might come back into your space feeling totally fine.
Right. And that's what I think I did. I went to like the gym and then sauna, and I was like, oh, thank God I did that.
Yeah.
I just felt like a new person after it. Yeah.
How have you coped with breakups that you've gone through?
It was, I mean, like I said before, it was always really tough for me because whether it was my family or my relationships, like I think that talking to someone every day was I just relied on it too much. Like I'm not saying like it would be like all day every day where like I was almost needing some sort of feeling like I needed to get some sort of, I guess, fulfillment, whether it's like my family or my relationship. What was the question?
Coping with breakups.
Coping with breakups. Yeah. And so
you're on the right track. Don't worry. You're doing great.
And so I just, I think that, breaking up, I think in my 20s, I would always be like, oh gosh, like I got to find somebody new, and like I would like jump right back into dating. Mm-hmm. And like, I think like romanticizing like a relationship was like my biggest struggle. And like, I was always craving that. And like, this is the first time where I'm not like, it's not that I don't want it, but like, I'm not like necessarily like seeking that out, on my day to day. I obviously like want it. Like I want a family. I want to get married. But I think that taking like a step back is like making me realize that like the right person will walk in at the right time. Whenever that may be. Who knows? Maybe it's in 10 years. I don't know. Maybe it's in a year.
Maybe it's in 10 days.
Maybe it's when I walk outside.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. When you almost walk into the physical therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe,
who knows?
Maybe someone was injured and they're there for you.
Who knows?
Yeah. I think as much as it can be hard to like break that habit of going from one person to the next, I'm sure that to become the best version of yourself for your next relationship, you needed to go through this year.
Yeah.
And however else long, on your own and figuring out like what you need for you to be happy and to feel whole without somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy. I think that I'm happy I'm going through it. Because it was quite important for me to do this, without a doubt, for my next relationship.
When you've had moments this past year or like right after breakups where you're like, oh, like I don't have the person to call, to text, to be with 24/7, to talk to 24/7. How did you get through those moments? Was there someone else you would go to? Like, did you kind of just pause and think like, okay, why do I need to talk to somebody? Like, just for anyone who's listening who might be going through that breakup and realizing like their person that they go to for everything they no longer have.
Yeah.
That's really hard to get through.
Yeah. I think I've went through so many different stages of it. I think that at first I was calling my friends and my family nonstop. But then I reached a point where like, I was like, let me just do like a lot for myself. Let me be good to myself. And whether it was like, I remember I was like really struggling. It was like a month after my last relationship. And I went to like a sound bath. And I was like, I want to do something to myself. I want to like treat myself.
Yeah.
And so I went to a sound bath and I was like floating in this space. But like made me feel happy because at the end of the day, like, you need to look out for yourself. So like treat yourself, whether it's like a spa day or a facial, or, maybe buy a new shirt or a blouse, like just be kind to yourself has been like my biggest thing, because like I think that like I used to fall in like this phase where like I would be down and then like I would just sit and just like, I think getting outside, walking around, getting out of your head in which any way you can is the most important thing that you can do.
Yeah. I do like that. Like, as silly as it sounds, like buy yourself a new shirt. Like if that's going to spark joy.
Yeah.
Like for me right now, like I recently became a runner. I'm now injured. I can't run.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to get back into running. whenever I get upset about not being able to run, I go buy like a new like running shoes or like a new workout top or something, just because it makes me feel like connected to running still and
Absolutely.
excites me. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is temporary. I will be able to run again.
Yeah.
And when I run, I'll be so excited to have these new shoes.
Right.
Like exactly like the ones I'm wearing right now.
Exactly.
It really helps.
Yeah. Gotta treat yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get back into your next relationship or in previous relationships you've had, how do you go about this conversation and this narrative of you lost your dad?
Yeah.
That's something that you have to open up to somebody about. That's something that you have to, share what that was like for you.
Yeah.
And that's something where, your life partner is most likely not going to have ever met your dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that like?
I mean, that's the tough part, I think, is that, my dad, won't be there when I get married or won't meet the person, that I fall in love with and eventually marry. I think it's just letting them into my life, which like, I feel like, especially nowadays, like, I think I have to be careful about because like, I have like 9 nieces and nephews. So like, I think that's like another reason why like I want to take it slow is that like, my family is such like an important part. And like, I don't want to just like introduce anybody to my family. And like, I mean, yeah, I don't think that I don't think anybody can understand it because I think that everyone goes through a different process and like they're grieving and like I just I think just being as open as I can to them about at least what I experienced will just be important and like them realizing that like my family has played such like a important role of it all will be important too. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there's any like right answer also.
Yeah. I think it also depends on, like you're coming to the table with everything that you've been through.
Yeah.
And the person that you're on a date with at any given date or the person you end up in a relationship with, like they've also been through shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
They also may have lost a family member or a loved one somewhere along the way. Like I think it's really a matter of like taking it day by day and step by step with somebody. I think what you said about like you don't want to just introduce anybody to your family.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to talk about because a lot of people just want to go through the motions with somebody.
Right.
And it's like, all right, like we're going on dates. Okay, we're exclusive. Okay, we're in a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, we've met the friends. Okay, now it's time to meet the family.
Yeah.
And if that's not happening as fast as they want it to, that could be really contentious. But it makes sense. Like if you don't want to just introduce somebody.
Yeah.
Or everybody to them.
Yeah, and I think that's why taking it slower for me is going to be really important moving forward. Yeah, I think that's why it's important for me to just go slower. And it's not like that the next person that I meet or I mean, yeah, that's also like I think I don't know if like there will ever be like a right answer. Like I think that at the end of the day they're going through their stuff too and they might not want to introduce me to their family. I don't know what everyone's going through something. And I think that I just want to be, cautious about going, not through the motions. I just want to be careful with that part of my life.
Yeah.
My next relationship.
Do you feel like your time on The Bachelorette impacted the way you date? Like when I think of like people who go on the show, it's like, okay, you're trauma dumping like immediately because you kind of have to.
Yeah.
And then you're not spending that much time with them, but enough to like kind of fall in love with them, maybe unclear. And then you're meeting families when you've only been on like 2 real dates.
Yeah.
Like the timeline stuff, I feel like is such a mind fuck. And then you go back out into like the real world and are dating. Like, how did that impact the way you date?
Yeah, I think that it was confusing coming off the show and then going back in the dating world because you're like, like how do I do this again? But I think that I think that, yeah, my relationship, like I jumped into another relationship like right out of the gate, and like I just I think that was a big factor, is that like I think that I needed to not, not be on the show anymore, like in that regard. And like at the end of the day, like we're not living in this bachelor world, like this is like real life. And like I just I don't know, I think that I wanted something so bad that I was just like willing to do whatever it takes, or whatever speed to get there. And like that's just, you can't rush it, you just really can't. And just like taking more time. That's what I'm doing now. They're just taking like more time with stuff,
Yeah.
not to put too much pressure on it.
I think it makes such a difference. I mean, even for me when I was in my mid-20s and single, like I just wanted to be with somebody so badly.
Yeah.
And so it was like anyone who liked me, I was like, great, you're the person.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't really thinking about like, what do I need? Am I good on my own first? Because I wasn't there yet where I could even if the right person like threw rocks at my window and like showed up at my door, I wouldn't have been ready.
Right.
Because I needed to go through stuff. I needed to understand who I really was on my own first.
Yeah.
Which is why I think what you're doing right now, like being single and figuring that out for yourself, is so amazing, and something that like I hope people can take away. Like it's important to have that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's been nice. It's been nice. As much as I'd love to, have that aspect of my life figured out, it's, you never know.
Yeah. You will.
Yeah.
You will.
Yeah.
You will. If you could give 25-year-old Greg
oh God,
a piece of advice, what would it be?
Chill out, dude. No, seriously. I was just a walking ball of anxiety at that age. Like I would stay up at night and be so stressed. And like where like I was just waking up like with zero sleep. I wanted every single part of my life figured out, and I was scared about money. I was scared about where I was going to live, how I was going to figure everything out in life. And like, I think just realizing that it's all going to be okay, no matter what, was is the biggest thing that I wish like I knew back in the day. Yeah.
And we need that reminder every now and then.
Yeah.
Still, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Everyone gets this final question. Get ready. What is the best piece of dating or relationship advice you've ever received or have to give?
Oh man. I was seeing this therapist, and I think that we were diving deeply on relationship stuff, and he was like, "You know what I think?" And I was like, "Please share." And he was like, "I think that you picture, or if you've romanticized this Disney movie type of love so much that you almost aren't like appreciating like the small things in life, and like realizing that that's not attainable, that's unattainable to like have this picture perfect esque type of movie relationship, like whether it's like The Notebook or any type of like film, like I think that we romanticize so much that it takes away from like real life. And I think that's why I also like gift giving. Is that like I like small gestures now to like, I don't know, let the people know who I love that like I'm thinking about them throughout my day or any capacity. But I think that it's like enjoying like the smaller things in life more. Yeah.
I love that. And I completely agree. I feel like we think about like we put so much emphasis on the big things. But on a day-to-day basis, it absolutely positively is the little things. Like think about like any little gesture someone's done to you that's unexpected. I had a magician on the podcast recently. His name's Max Davidson. He's phenomenal, and we were talking about how to put like magic back into dating and relationships. And we got into this conversation about how like what magic is just a surprise. It's something that's unexpected, and that's why it's so beautiful, because you're not expecting it. And so it's you know, my friends and I will try and send each other a little treat if we know someone's having a really bad day. Even like just sending a $10 Starbucks gift card.
Right.
Just to get them out of the house to go do something.
Absolutely.
It makes such a difference. And I mean, in my relationship, like, it's not the big things. It's 100% the little things.
Yeah. I mean, you got me a coffee today. That made my afternoon.
Oh. Even though you drank some paper in it?
The paper tasted fine.
Okay, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little things.
Yeah, seriously.
I love that. Greg, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Where can everybody find you? And is there anything going on in your life that you want them to be on the lookout for?
No, my name is Greg. You can find me, last name Grippo. That's about all you need for following wise, or finding me. It's that's it. But yeah, I mean, I have I don't know. We'll see what happens in this next year. I feel like it's an important year, for me, just like moving forward. I feel like there's a lot happening right now in my life, professionally that like I'm cautiously optimistic about.
All right.
Yeah, you know.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Okay, stay tuned. Stay tuned, everybody.